Senator Antic, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. And look, can I just also start by just acknowledging the bravery of the doctors and nurses who stood up during this period, and acknowledge those who, as one of the presenters said earlier, are still mandated out of work, which is an extraordinary thing in 2021, let alone 2024. So thank you for your bravery and to your members as well. But I'm interested in, and I perhaps would direct this question perhaps to Dr. Sladden or maybe Mr. Gillespie, who might be well placed to answer it. But I'm interested in some of the commentary that's been placed around the period of time known as COVID and what it did to public confidence in the institutions, in the medical industry and in the pharmaceutical industry as well. And whether or not the perception that I hear when I speak to people and that I see reported that the COVID period and the manner in which it was approached by some of those bodies has perhaps, and hopefully not, but certainly in the short term damaged beyond repair the perception and the trust that people have in those institutions, and whether or not they think that a Royal Commission would go a long way into repairing some of the trust that has been lost and damaged during that period by the response.
Who'd like to take that?
I'll take that question.
Dr. Sladden.
It's Dr. Sladden. Thank you, Senator Antic, for the question. Look, I think trust, in one summarised statement, trust has been certainly eroded significantly in the medical profession and also various industries and systems associated with that. I think this is in part due to the breaches of informed consent and human rights and free speech, as I outlined in my opening statement. And also there's been definite clarity on the nefarious relationships that seem to exist both in front of the scenes and also behind the scenes, and a lack of transparency over some of the decisions that were made. For example, the contracts with the pharmaceutical companies that were decided are still not available to the people. And when you think about the fact that taxpayers' dollars have been used to purchase these injections, I think the Australian people have a right to know under what circumstances they were purchased. But the most significant erosion of trust, in my opinion, happened in the consultation room of individual doctors and individual patients. And basically there was an insertion of bureaucracy and direction that has never been seen before in that sacred space between a doctor and a patient, where there was this breach of informed consent. The answer that I'd like to provide is quite detailed. I know we're short on time, so I would really like to provide the rest of that answer on notice, if possible, please.
Sorry, anything else, Senator Antic?
Well, I wondered if Mr. Gillespie might have anything to add to that as to whether or not he thinks from his interactions with people that the trust issues that have been lost in the institutions are recoverable, and whether a Royal Commission will go any way to achieving that.
Mr. Gillespie.
Thank you, Senator. Trust has been lost in so many quarters. There's not only the doctor-patient relationship where now mum in the family can't trust the GP that they were attending for the last 20 years because the government has inserted themselves in between that relationship. When a doctor in their community commits suicide, the community loses trust in the support facilities, professional support agencies for those doctors. That a new experimental drug, hot off 6 months of clinical trials, was safe and effective. It was the biggest marketing coup by Big Pharma in Big Pharma's history. And now, across the country, every person here is fielding calls every second day from vaccine injured or families of deceased from these vaccines. They're not vaccines, they never were vaccines. They're gene therapies. The country was not informed. Now, the guy in the street in this country just knew a modus operandi for 60, 70 years. The values handed down to them from their grandparents that made the social contract in this country. That contract was torn up and burned by government during the era of COVID. So trust, there's a lot of trust to be earned back here, and it's only going to occur once we get a Royal Commission having the bad actors admit that they did wrong.